I'm Bob Cook. I work with Push Buffalo, People United for Sustainable Housing. And one of the things that we find important in making houses sustainable is not just the infrastructure and the insulation and everything else, but finance as well. Finance is a big part of what makes a house sustainable, a community sustainable. And if any of you know someone who has gone through the foreclosure process, anybody out there had people foreclosed on that are your neighbors? Anybody know of a house in your neighborhood that was a part of a foreclosed house? So we all know what this problem is. You got a foreclosed house, or maybe it's not totally foreclosed. This is something that we've been finding out about, that banks don't always totally foreclose on a house, and people find a letter in their mailbox, they say, you got to move out, you're being foreclosed on. They move out, the house doesn't get foreclosed on. All of a sudden, the city becomes responsible for some of this stuff, some of this financing of taking care of the place, keeping the lawn mowed in front of a not foreclosed on house that someone moved out on. That ain't right. That's something that we say. If it's unjust, we say it ain't right. Can I hear a? That ain't right. Very good. You guys are doing all right. This is what they mean when Push is in the house. Start to learn how to be activists. So, what we've been investigating some of this stuff. We've been looking at foreclosure stuff for a year and a half now, and we've come to learn a few things about what's going on with this. And one of the things that we find helps resolve some, or not resolve, but lessen the amount of foreclosure is when you start to put some financial onus upon the bank around foreclosing. We went to Youngstown, Ohio, and in Youngstown, they brought in bond legislation to attach a $10,000 bond to a foreclosed on house. When the bank puts that money down, then the bank finishes that foreclosure process, and the bank has financial responsibility on that foreclosed house until the deed is transferred to a new owner, or the foreclosure process is resolved and the people that were living there have a new lease on life, maybe you could call it. They resolve the foreclosure, and the people can stay in the house with a refinanced mortgage, or somebody else new picks up that house. Now, in the meantime, the city of Youngstown still receives some money from that bond, which is a good thing because the city has a whole processing thing to go through with all of this foreclosure stuff, so they should get some of that money too. Now, what this does is it makes the bank think twice about foreclosing, okay? It forces them to actually be deliberate about what they're foreclosing on and being deliberate about actually performing the foreclosure. So we think that this is sound legislation, and this has happened in 10 other cities across the country where they've put this type of legislation forward, where a bond is put up by the bank on any foreclosed house. So we think that this is sound legislation. It has worked in these other cities to lessen the amount of mortgages and make them more deliberate and more legal, actually. So we think that this is sound legislation to bring to Buffalo. We're very glad to have the Partnership for the Public Good working with us on it, as well as the Western New York Law Center. Drafting this type of legislation isn't an easy thing. We want to make it sound for Buffalo, and we appreciate all of the help that we're getting on this, and it's just a start. Because banks need to recognize that they are not above and beyond the community, they are a part of the community. This is something that we help National Fuel to learn. You are a part of the community, you are not above and beyond. Banks are the same way. National Grid, look out, we'll come for you next. Not in a mean way. We're looking for partnerships, and we should hope that the banks would want a partnership with us as well to build strong communities. And that's what we're looking for.